Great, Del Marina. Thank you so very much. Thank you, Silicon Valley Central Chamber of Commerce. And thank you all for attending and investing your time with us today, because time is our most valuable asset. I'd also like to introduce Sarah, who's our technical advisor here, keeping everything running there, and Mr. Dennis, who is joining us for the presentation today. So we're just going to get started. Are there any questions or anything before we get started? Anything specifically you'd like to make sure we answer today? Is anybody going to come off mute and say hello?
Hello.
Thank you, Robert. Okay, so first of all, I am your coach today, Joe Siecinski. I've been with the Chamber of Commerce for almost 10 years, so thank you, Silicon Valley Chamber of Commerce. I've been a certified business coach for 11 years, background in engineering, MBA in marketing, certified business coach, blah, 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 blah. You can go read my LinkedIn. The big thing is I get to help people with their businesses. I'd like to introduce our super awesome guest today, Mr. Dennis Chin.
Hey, everyone. I graduated from McGeorge School of Law and with a JD, and I also have a Master's of Law from Santa Clara University School of Law. I have been an attorney for almost 16 years. I practice civil litigation at SAC Attorneys, LLP here in San Jose. And my emphasis is on civil and commercial litigation, real estate, and family law. And I represent all clients in phases of discovery, law in motion, negotiations, and settlement and trial.
And he likes it in the courtroom. He's a litigation guy, so he likes to get in there and roll up his sleeves. So it's an honor and privilege, Dennis, for us to have you here today and give us some of your expertise. So thank you, and we'll dive into that. So the agenda today is we're going to go through a little bit of brain stuff, getting our brain focused, and then we'll go through building a business and the implications from a legal standpoint of that. So how many of you have seen this formula before? Go ahead and raise your right hand. How many of you have not? Raise your left hand. How many are you not going to raise your hand no matter what? Okay, just wanted to make sure we got you there. So this is the formula for change. If your business or your life is not changing, we go back to the formula. As an engineer, I love formulas. So D times V times F must be greater than R. If you are not dissatisfied with where you're at and have a vision of where you want to go and taking the first steps, if any one of those is the zero, well, what's the product? Zero, that's right. So, and that must be greater than resistant to change, and everyone is resistant to change. It's Newton's law. A body in motion will stay in motion. A body at rest will stay at rest. That's affected by a greater force. So if your business or life's not changing, figure out, is it D, V, or F? Okay, a little bit about learning. This is interactive, so I want everyone to come off of mute, please. And I'm watching you, so you got to come off mute. Hello, Victor. Hello, Luis. Everybody coming off mute, because I need interaction here. What I want you to do is look at the following and call out the word. Is everybody ready? 1, 2, 3, go.
Red,
blue, gray, brown,
blue,
pink,
gray.
black, green, purple, yellow, red, orange, green, orange.
Woohoo! That was cool. Did anybody have a problem with that? Fantastic. Now I want you to do the same thing, but I want you to call out the color, not the word. Come on, Robert, take yourself off mute so we can hear you. I know you're chewing, but ready? Call out the color, not the word. Go.
Yellow, green, gray.
Brown,
Yellow, green,
pink,
blue, red,
black.
orange, yellow, blue,
Okay,
purple.
time out, time out. We'll do it one more time, okay? Everybody ready? The colors, not the word. And go.
Yellow, green, red,
blue, brown,
Blue,
orange, black,
brown,
red,
pink,
black,
gray.
black.
purple, green.
Red.
Did anybody have a problem with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of hard, isn't it? What happens here is our brain goes from left brain to right brain, and we're switching brain, switching modalities. And the more this happens in your business and your life, the harder the day is. Did you feel the energy being sucked out of you when you went to try to do the colors? It was hard. This is what happens in your business day when you're switching between modalities. And every time you switch, it's hard. It takes a lot of energy and you're not accomplishing much. This is why I wrote the book. Yes, I am going to promote the book, BrainShare, available on Barnes & Noble and Amazon.com. So now we had a little bit of stuff getting our brain going. When we say or think this, what happens?
Our brain shuts down.
Exactly. Our brain shuts off. Our subconscious mind says, I know that. So it stops listening. Our subconscious mind puts up a steel wall. Everything bounces off. So instead of saying or thinking, I know, what do we say instead? Everybody together. 1, 2, 3.
Isn't that interesting?
Yay! Can you almost feel your brain change a little bit? So it's extremely powerful as you're going through life. And when we say or think, I know, you can no longer learn. Isn't that
Interesting.
Yay! Okay, above and below the line. When we take ownership, accountability, and responsibility for everything that happens in our business and our lives, we've got the oar, the paddle to get us where we want to go. Or blame, it's Jimmy's fault. Or excuses, my alarm didn't go off. Or denial, don't even know I am lying to myself. You might as well stay in bed. How many of you have gone below the line before? How many of you haven't? How many are not going to raise your hand no matter what? Okay, I see a lot of you out there. So when we're above the line, we take ownership, accountability, and responsibility, and we get results. Otherwise, stay in bud and get nothing. So this is a fun one. Have any of you ever wished you could change your action, behavior, or decisions as you've gone through things? Yeah, me too. However, we can't because our actions, behavior, and decisions are actually the results. They're what we see. But what really controls things are what's below the waterline. Our skills, beliefs, values, identity, and environment. Now, of those things below the waterline, which is the easiest to start changing?
Skills.
That's right. Leslie, thank you. You've seen this one before. And that's what we're going to be focused on today is adjusting some of our skills. Now, I've got real estate clients that say environment, so you move, because the real estate agents like to sell you a house. But skills is the easiest to change. Make sense? Okay, so building a business is like building a house. When do we start with when we build a house?
The foundation.
Yay, and the foundation has cornerstones. The 4 cornerstones for building your house. Time. Time is your most valuable asset. How you utilize it will determine the success of your life and your business. Your ultimate goal, where are you going? If you don't know where you're going, you might end up there. Standards, which is consistency in your product or service. Who makes more hamburgers than anybody in the world?
McDonald's.
Are they the best?
Nope.
Why do they make the most?
Because they're consistent.
They were the first ones to be consistent. Before McDonald's, some of us might remember the old hamburger shops where you'd go in and sometimes you'd get a burnt burger, sometimes you'd get a raw burger. You never knew what you were going to get. It was kind of like going to Vegas. You're not sure what's going to happen.
Doesn't cows make the most hamburgers?
Who? Oh, cows. Yeah, actually. Well, I don't know. We got the vegan thing going on now. So, well, thank you. I like that. So it's all about consistency in your business. When you're a solopreneur, it's easy, but as you start growing, you have to have that consistency. And finance. You got to know your numbers. I watch any of the Shark Tanks or anything. You got to know your numbers: revenue, break-even point, net profit, gross profit, your number of leads, conversion rate, average dollar sale, etc. And then we get into our marketing, and then our systems, and then team, and then our exit or expansion plans. So we're going to dive into a little bit more. Time is all about efficiency and focus. So where do you need to be spending your time in the business? Where does your team need to be spending their time? What's their focus? What's the biggest constraint in your business? And are you allocating that time appropriately? What's your ultimate goal? As Stephen Covey says, begin with the end in mind. When are you going to sell the business? How much are you going to sell it for? What do you want it to look like? Are you going to franchise? Are you going to give it to your kids? Do they want it? And then standards. This is all about your processes, ensuring consistent delivery experience. I don't know if any of you have worked at McDonald's. I did. And guess what? Everything is process oriented. Timers, everything. How do you ensure your business is like that? And finance. Keep what you earn. That's why work so hard if you're not going to keep the money, right? And it's knowing your numbers. Make sense? Market positioning. This is when your business starts becoming stable. Okay, this is where your target market, your unique selling proposition, your guarantee starts coming into play. Your strategic marketing plan, your tactical marketing plan, and your sales training. These are all integral into the marketing of your business, and marketing is math. Every dollar you spend, you need to get $3 back at least. This is your tactical strategy and your SWOT analysis. Now we start putting our systems in place. Save yourself time, energy, and money. This comes into your hiring system, which is Dennis is going to talk about. Your firing system, also Dennis is going to talk about. And as you start building the company, all of the systems you need to put in place, your accounting systems, your marketing systems, your sales systems, your operational systems, everything needs to be put in place. That's your hard systems and your soft systems. Make sense? Then we move into your team. This is all about the right people in the right bus in the right place at the right time, going to the right place. So your org chart, you must have organizational charts, job descriptions. How do you measure performance, your KPIs, your training? If you haven't read the book Traction by Gino Wickman, I highly recommend that. Make sense? And you are going to need a different team up here than you do when you kick off, when you start. Make sense? And then we go into exit. Now, the exit planning is where you definitely need Dennis and his team's help. Okay, because based on your ultimate goal down here, what do you want the exit plan to look like? As you start getting into your exit plan, what does that look like? What's the buyout? What are those? There's a lot of implications regarding exiting your business. And you need to ensure that you've got all of those resources in place. Make sense? Okay, so your building, oh, and also your trademarks, your patents, everything. And Dennis is going to get into more on that because that's his expertise. So as we go through this, everyone knows that every business has a life cycle. So we start looking at the life cycle. When you start the business, it's all about your foundation and the positioning of your business. That's your marketing aspect of things. And as you start growing, then you start putting more focus on your systems and your team. As you reach maturity, you start looking at exit or expansion. And depending upon what your ultimate goal is, then you look at the rebirth or the decline and exit out of the business. In each one of these steps, there's legal implications that you need to consider and to take into effect. or account. And then depending on what your strategy is, it's exit, positioning, it could vary. So how many of you are familiar with Vern Harnish's Scaling Up? This comes from Vern, and he is awesome. If you haven't read his book, please do. It talks about the valley of death for most businesses. And depending on where your business is, look at your next valley of death and where you need to focus. You hit that 1 million mark, you typically get about 6, 7, 8 employees. There's a challenge there as the CEO or the owner needs to move modalities and mentality to get to above that. And then you're 1 million, etc. So the beginning, you're focused on foundation and positioning again. And then you get up into your system, your teams, and your expansion. Definitely expansion at 10 million. And now you're starting to create a legacy business, one that's going to last long after you are, which is a sustainable, predictable, stable, consistent, and emotionally attached business. So, as you're moving through your process on defining what your goals are in the business, where you want to go, ensure that you're not doing the same thing over and over again. As Albert Einstein, it is the definition of insanity. Make sense? Okay, I would like to turn it over to Mr. Dennis. So Dennis is with SAC Attorneys, LLP. And as you can see, they are an award-winning firm here in San Jose. Dennis, you also have an office in New York, I believe?
Yes, SAC Attorneys has an office in New York.
So they've been around for how long now?
A long time.
Long time, long time. And and a member of the chamber. So thank you. Dennis, all yours.
So let's start talking about starting your own business and several things you have to consider. The first thing you have to consider is what type of business do you want to have? Well, if you're the only owner of your business, that would be a sole proprietorship. However, if you wanted to join forces with someone else and have at least 2 people forming a business, that would be a partnership. However, know that each partner in a partnership is liable for the acts of the other partner. So we can help you form a limited liability partnership in which each partner would have certain liabilities only. You can also form a...
So you better be careful who you get into partnership with, right? That's be smart on that one.
Exactly. You can also form a corporation. You could form an LLC, an S Corp, and a C Corp. And know that in those instances, you have certain tax advantages.
And our recommendation is, as you're starting to go down and make this decision, ensure that you get your accountant engaged and look at what are the tax advantages before deciding and putting this all together. So you want to get input from not only your attorney, but your accountant too. Right, Wendy? She's probably muted. Okay.
I am. You're right, Joe. Absolutely.
Go ahead, Dennis.
So when you're forming your company or your corporation, one of the first things you need to do is to come up with a name of your company so that it identifies your company. You should have a logo. Come up and create a logo, develop your own logo. And after you've done that, you should register it with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office so that if anyone uses your logo, you have a lawsuit against them for infringement. Another thing that you should be doing is that you should have a written agreement as to the ownership. If you're forming a partnership, your agreement should say how the profits and losses are distributed, who manages the everyday affairs, things of that nature. For corporations, you should have articles.
Dennis, I want to jump in there because this is what I've seen over the years. It has some challenges, not only what the profits did, but what happens if you decide to get a divorce? What's the, how does that work? And that should be defined up front. Plan your divorce before you get married.
Exactly. There should be some type of provision or paragraph that indicates how you're going to dissolve the company when that happens. And speaking about bylaws and articles of incorporation, those have to be registered with the state of California. And if you're doing business in which you have a name that is other than your name, your own proper name, then you would have to file a fictitious business name statement with the county. Make sure you also apply for a business license so that you can do work in your own city or county. And if you want to have a bank account, you got to have at least a federal employer identification number. So you got to apply to the IRS for that.
So
Also that's required if you're having employees, and you have to do your taxes. So you have to have an FEIN number.
And if you want to create your company outside of the state of California, there's a bunch of legal. I've had a client that wanted to register in Delaware, and there was a lot of legal implications there. So make sure you give Dennis and his team a call and walk you through that, because that's not a trivial matter.
Exactly. Next, you'll have to determine the structure of your company and the liabilities. The structure as to who the owners are, the partners, the officers, the board of directors, and any managers. At the same time, you have to decide who are your employees and whether and if you want to have contractors. So as we know that employees are on a W-2 schedule, and also the contractors are on a 1099. That's what you issue to them for tax purposes.
And if you've got a board of directors, that creates a whole nother creation. So these are definitely things that you want to make sure you've got legal representation to cover yourselves.
Also, when you're starting your own business, you have to develop some contracts for vendors and suppliers, employment contracts, sales contracts, lease or buying agreements. Make sure they comply with all federal, state, and local laws.
And I've had multiple clients get in situations where they haven't read their lease and haven't gone through that with an attorney the way that they should, and it caused issues. The other big one I see on this is indemnification and limitation of liabilities. You definitely want your legal representation to review that. So make sure you give Dennis a call.
When you're starting your own business, you should really think about how are you going to protect your business. And one of the aspects that we always tell our clients is that you need insurance for any liabilities that could come upon you. So that would mean insurance for any products or services that you're putting out there. Also, workers' compensation insurance if you have employees who may get hurt on the job. Protecting a company also means that you should have a trademark for your logo in which that identifies your company, so that if anyone wants to use your logo, you can go and stop them from doing so. You should also have non-disclosure agreements with your employees as to any trade secrets you may have. And it's also important to have management on legal training so that everyone knows all the updated laws as to how they should be performing.
And that's a big one, especially here in California, where we've seen a lot of issues when the managers aren't trained right. They have mistakes, and it creates a liability for the company. The other one is copyright. I didn't even think about copyright, Dennis. Anything that you need to have copyrighted needs some legal aspect of that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So when you're running your own business, you need to make sure that any human resources issues that you have comply with federal, state, and local laws. You should also make sure that you have policies in place, such as a handbook for your employees, so that they know what to expect in the workplace and how it's run. You should also have wage and hour policies and harassment policies. You know that in many companies at the cafeteria or in their kitchen, they have this gigantic poster about harassment policies. Well, that has to be in a very conspicuous place so that people can see that. It's very important.
Well, there's big fines if you don't have that posted now. And there's, these laws change all the time. So make sure that you've got someone that is representing your company to go to on these things, because the policies change, especially in California, so often it's not even funny. Make sure that you're staying in compliance.
When you're running your own business, you have to decide who you're going to hire, employees. So one of the first things you need to do is have a job description that details the roles and responsibilities of each employee. And when the applicant comes in and you're about to hire that person, make sure you fill out the I-9, which is the employer verification of the employee. And you have to make sure that they fill out the W-4 form. The I-9 is there to decide, is the applicant qualified to do work in the US? And if there's any problems with that, like any immigration problems, send them to me. We'll help you out and take care of that for you.
Also on this, most companies have more than just this. So make sure you're looking at your the guidelines from an HR perspective, because there may be different forms that will have to be filled out as part of the onboarding process. So you definitely want to make sure that your onboarding process is in compliance.
Let's talk about wage and hour employees. I see there's many issues with that. But the top issues with wage and hour employees is failing to pay them for overtime work. Also, failing to give them adequate breaks, and failing to pay minimum wage, and also a failure to pay employees when they work off the clock. I can't express how important it is that you follow all the wage and hour laws.
Yeah, you actually need to make them take their breaks, which sounds kind of strange, but it's the law.
How to avoid wage and hour lawsuits? Well, I have a detailed slide here. I'm going to give you maybe like 30 seconds to look at it, and we'll talk about it. So take a look at it and we'll discuss it in 30 seconds. So I think it's very important to keep detailed records of your employees. Also, pay your employees when you're supposed to. Make sure you're on top of your deadlines and don't delay. You should also audit your job descriptions. Keep them updated. Employee handbooks, keep them updated, and your business policies, so that you know exactly what is going on in the workplace. Very important.
Well, and I'm going to go back to that detailed records of employees. This includes any type of disciplinary action. You need to make sure you document. You cannot over document things. Well, let me rephrase that. I haven't seen anyone over document things. So document. It's good nothing but help you.
Also, the first one there, it's important to keep a detailed record as to how many hours they have worked, earnings and additions and deductions on file. Because if they have a wage and hour claim against you, you're going to have to show them that this is how many hours they've worked. So very important. Respond to legal notifications promptly. I can't tell you how many times a client comes to me and says, Dennis, I have this lawsuit, and he shows me the paperwork, and I asked him, well, when were you served? And he says 6 months ago. 6 months ago, that's kind of late. So at this point, have you answered the lawsuit? And he says he hasn't. Well, now we're going to have to undo the entire situation. We're going to have to file a motion to set aside the judgment that's out there, and that's going to cost you 10 times as much as would if it would have costed you if you had just answered it or come to me at the beginning. So it's very important that if you have any legal notices, default notices, notices from the EDD, the IRS, employment notices, any of those type of notices, call me and we will help you out.
And do not delay these. It doesn't get better. It doesn't go away by themselves. Get a hold of Dennis and his team.
Planning for your exit, generally we recommend, 1 to 3 years in advance if you want to exit your company. That would mean like selling your company, someone buying out your company. But oftentimes people just don't know, and sometimes the partners don't work out and they want to dissolve the company. And if you do, come to us. We're going to help you dissolve the company if that's what you want.
And there's lots of legal implications depending on how you do this and which way you do it. So make sure you're getting good recommendations. If you're buying or selling, I think Wendy's got some good context there to help you buy or sell your business. And Dennis makes sure that we're in legal compliance. I plugged you twice, Wendy. Okay, so I'd like you all to take out your phones right now and hold them up here and scan them and schedule your free. Dennis, go ahead. What's the free session?
The free 1-hour consultation. If you or you can always call me up at 408-436-0789 or email me at dchin@SAC Attorneys.com, and we could set up a free 1-hour consultation. And if you have any questions.
That's pretty cool. Everyone got your QR code there? And just in case you forgot, here's another one for you. Okay, I saw a couple of phones there. Okay. And when you're ready to take the first step to building your business and ensuring that you have compliance, take out your phone and schedule your free consultation with me. We'll spend some time figuring out where you are, where you want to go, and how to get you there in the most expedient manner. Okay, you can also take out your phones and go to this link and purchase my book, BrainShare, How Business Owners Make More Money, Have More Time. Who wants more money? Who wants more time? Buy my book, come see me. Are there questions?
Got a question?
Yes, please.
Yeah, thanks, Dennis, for the talk. At the beginning, you mentioned that you do business with real estate law. What are some of the common cases that your clients bring to you in regards to real estate?
Well, I do some landlord-tenant cases.
So are there, what's the most common situation that gets brought to your office?
You mean for real estate? Yeah, so we have landlords coming to us trying to evict their tenants, especially in this day and time of the pandemic, which is pretty challenging at this point.
Gotcha.
Thank you, Robert. Other questions? Really? Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, for Denise, thank you. So for our salary employee, do they still need the break, like morning, afternoon?
You know what? Your question is very specific, and yeah, I would say that come to us. Call me up.
Okay,
there's all these
schedule
different
appointment.
exceptions. There's a lot of different exceptions to that rule. So call me up and then we'll discuss that more.
Okay.
Don Marina, I would like to thank you and the Silicon Valley Central Chamber of Commerce for hosting us and allowing us to come here. I'd like to thank all of you attendees for being here and investing some time with us. I'd like to thank our guest, Dennis Chin, and our technical support, Sarah. Yay! So thank you all very much. You have a great day. Any questions, challenges, or issues, please give us a call. We're here to support you.